Hi everyone, this is Megan from Art Garden Oracle. I am just having the weirdest day where I am so overwhelmed and I have so many things going on and I just can't figure out what to do or how to move forward. My poor cat had a surgery yesterday, so there's probably going to be a lot of meowing in the background. So yeah, I think just caretaking kitty cat is like making for a weird day on top of a bunch of other just kind of like fumbling moments, which is fine. I'm trying to embrace it. So I was just sitting here and I'm like, I'm gonna make a video because there's not 100 things I need to be doing instead right now. So this is kind of like last 10 decks video, but it's more than that. I'm gonna show a couple decks that I've had longer, that I'm just using a lot right now. So it's a little kind of combo of like spooky season decks and decks I'm working with a lot right now. This is one of the first ones I will show. I've got stacks of decks all around me, so I'm like having to be really careful. I love these pocket decks. I'm going to show another pocket deck that I got. Barbara Walker's been on my list forever. Like I just knew I would get it someday. But I am done with decks for the year. We are having a very serious like budget moment. So knowing that I was done, I was like, I do want this one for like solstice and the dark time of the year to study. And I just know with like the garden going to bed, we're getting our first freeze tonight. And I'm kind of busy putting the garden away. Yeah, that hopefully my hope is that I will have more time to study. So catch up on my astrology studies, which I'm behind on, and catch up on my art work and Etsy stuff that I'm very behind on, and catch up on tarot practice. So Barbara Walker's amazing. I have luckily my library has an app where you can check out books, audiobooks and ebooks. And so I just got her, I have a bunch of her books favorited on there, but I just started reading this morning her symbols book. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put it down below, but she has an amazing book about like symbolism, very historic ancient symbolism, and tying it to goddess culture and feminine things. I'm sorry, Paigey. Oh, he's so sad, my cat. It's heartbreaking. But yeah, this tarot deck is just really cool. It's really different. It's definitely like 90s. I don't know if it was created then, kind of artwork style, but I love it. I love the darkness of it. Everyone has always said that it's very direct, and I find that to be very true. I've only done one reading with it. This is one of my last 10 decks. And it was very to the point, but it was not mean or harsh or like hard to hear. It was very helpful. I would say that. It did not kick my butt. It was just very helpful. And, I do like to work with shadow work. It's a cool book, I keep saying that, a cool deck. I'm excited to work with it a lot more. So this is the Alchemical Tarot by Robert M. Place. I don't have any of Robert Place's decks, so this was another one kind of in that vein of why I got Barbara Walker. Those are the backs. This has been at least one of his decks. I also was looking at the Sevenfold Mystery deck, and there's one other one. Let me see if I can find the book. I have the book. It was supposed to come with a deck, and it didn't, and I requested a refund, and they were like, oh, just keep the book. So I can't remember. Oh, the Burning Serpent Oracle, which is one that he did with Rachel Pollack, and it's a Lenormand, but it's like Lenormand Plus. It has more than just Lenormand in it. So I was trying to get that one, and I think I ordered it twice or maybe 3 times, and every single time, even though it was different sellers, they all just sent me the book, and finally I was just like, ugh, I give up. It's not meant to be. But this is beautiful. I really like it a lot. I didn't realize that the little white book has very little alchemical info in it. So I'm going to have to get the larger book. I think I can get that on my digital library app too. So I'm going to do that to kind of study this. But alchemy has been something that I'm wanting to work with a lot this winter. It's just something that has been coming up a lot the last couple years. So it's a beautiful deck. You know, it's indie, but it's not crazy expensive. It's just really nice quality. I love his artwork. I love his, you know, deep research. I love how steeped he is in, yeah, just tarot history and tarot knowledge. So yeah, this is cool. So he, this kind of came about because he was studying alchemy and realized that the alchemical process really mirrored the kind of journey of the major arcana. And so this is kind of putting those two narratives, I guess, together. So the magician is Hermes Trismegistus. I know I said that wrong. It's like I hear other people say it and I'm like, yeah, that was good. You did a good job with that. And then I try to say it and I can never say it correctly. So I'm not even going to try again. But yeah, beautiful deck, beautiful box. It's like a fabric covered box, which is really cool. I don't have any kind of boxes like that. Not the reason I bought it, but I'm enjoying it. And just like the really rich blue color. So Alchemical Tarot, that's the 6th edition, which I think is the most current edition, still very much in print. This is another one. Okay, so I am having a wild addiction to photography decks right now. Or it's not right now, it's been a hot minute. So this is the Graven Images Oracle. Also a very great this time of year deck. Talk about like deck. I watched Cottage Witch Tarot's Decks of Descent video today. And so yeah, I think that's on all of our minds right now. With the freeze coming tonight, I am just like steeped in the wheel turning, the seasons turning, the death coming. And I'm having a really wild Pluto transit in my life right now that is going to last a long time and has been already lasting a long time because Pluto moves so slowly and just finished its retrograde. So it's coming back over my MC and my Mercury and squaring a lot of things in my natal chart. So this energy, Pluto and Dark Goddess and death, rebirth, is very much a big part of kind of where my work is right now. Oh, that looks like that guy. So anyway, it has its own system. I have not, this is like maybe my newest one. I have not read much about the system yet. I just kind of read the intro a little bit. I need to make a book for this. I will say it came just kind of like bowed and messy and not cut very well, which I don't really care. I mean, I got this for a really specific purpose, so I don't mind the quality. I kind of knew it's really affordable, even though it's, I think, independently printed. And so I don't mind any of that, but just as an FYI. This is my other little 10. I mentioned Halloween Tarot. This is another one that's just been on my list for ages and ages. And everyone kind of knows this one, so I'm just going to show like a few cards, but I just love it. It's very sweet, very nostalgic, very, my kids are young. I always talk about that too. And this just feels like a great spooky season deck to use with them. Yeah, just this, even though I just had this deck recently, I haven't had it historically, just feels very nostalgic and inner child, and like will be a lot of fun with my kids, and we're watching, you know, all the fun Halloween movies right now. So this was just like my fun greet the season. I mentioned on some other videos too, like I am not the best lover of winter just because I'm originally from the South and I live in a place with a lot of snow and a lot of darkness now, and I have a little bit of like winter anxiety. So yeah, that was just like my, it's gonna be okay, smile. Wintertime is fun. Oh man, we'll see if that works. Let's see. This is something, another thing I have the audio, not the audiobook. I have the ebook of this. I actually bought it on, not on Audible. What's that other thing? Kindle? I don't read a lot of books. I like to read physical books. So I've had this and its accompanying book forever. And I forgot that I bought the book and then kind of forgot about the deck. So I have been excited about playing cartomancy recently. And so I just got this out again and I'm starting to work on it with the book that I bought on Kindle that I forgot about. It is apparently, and I haven't like fact checked this yet, but it is apparently a different card reading system than I guess the more conventional playing cartomancy system. So I haven't like backed that up yet. I am pretty sure, I might be remembering this incorrectly, but I do think that they attribute a slightly different meaning between swords and wands. Oh my gosh, my cat is trying to attack the doorknob now. Sorry, it's gonna be totally distracting. Anyway, it's kind of got some spooky vibes to it. And so feels like, yeah, another good shadow work deck and some spooky season stuff. But my love with cartomancy really began because from a very young age, I played cards with my family and just like card games. And I've always loved shuffling. I've always loved decks. I've loved, like, even when I would just like cut cards for a game we were playing at home, I would like, you know, feel from a very young age, like feel an intuition feeling when I was playing cards for games, and long before I knew that there was so much more to where cards came from and what cards have been used for historically. So yeah, I definitely have a deep love of playing cards and excited to learn more about reading with playing cards. And yeah, whether this is a different system or not, like, I'm totally fine with that. You know, I really like all the different systems and want to learn about them as much as possible. I apologize for my poor cat. Paige, come here. He's so sad. He got injured really bad late one night. He got his shoulder cut open and he had to have surgery a few weeks ago, and we've been taking care of him, which is probably why my life feels very upside down. And we took him in yesterday to get his staples out, and she said the wound is still in bad shape, so she had to do surgery on him again. And he is just like a lover of outdoor stuff, and this has just been torture. She was like, you have to keep him inside, he can't go outside, and you should limit movement as much as possible. It's just been heartbreaking. Oop, nudity warning, sorry. I forgot there was nudity in this. This is the Tenebrae deck by John Mahoney. Again, I was telling you about this like photography moment I'm having. There's more. And my freaking memory is out. I wonder if this will switch over to my other card. See, I thought this was going to be easy, but it's going to be riddled with technical difficulties. I fell in love with these images. I think I saw these on Rose Honey Rituals channel. Immediately fell in love with the images, and then she was going through, there's an edition with no keywords on the bottom, but I really was drawn to his keywords that he's chosen, even though I did like aesthetically the plain pictures more. But I got the keyword version, and I didn't realize this, but this is based on Marseille, which I had no idea when I bought it. And then I was like, oh dang, I thought this was traditional tarot, and I was disappointed for like half a second. But I've been wanting a reason to pick my Marseille deck studies back up. So I'm totally happy, in truth. So yeah, it's a wonderful, beautiful deck. I'm excited. Okay, sorry guys. Man, riddled with hangups. Okay, So anyway, so yeah, I bought it not knowing it was Marseille inspired, but also excited because what a different concept to, yeah, have a photographic Marseille. I don't know how it's going to work. A lot of the imagery works for the traditional RWS, but there's just some images, like, what did I get? It's on my altar. I think it's like the Seven of Swords has a very different meaning in Marseille, I think. And since it doesn't come with a guidebook, yeah, anyway, I'm just like taking the meanings at their face value. So anyway, it's a beautiful deck, not as like ready for me to read with out of the box, just because I don't know my Marseille as well as I want to. So again, another good opportunity to spend time with it this winter and learn. But I just find it really beautiful. I looked at like the witches. There's like a witches tarot photographic deck, and it's beautiful. It's the one with like lots and lots of naked ladies. I think there's only one picture of a man in there, which I think is the creator, which I don't know, probably is all good, but that feels a little interesting to me. But anyway, I looked at that closely because that at first attracted me too. But it just wasn't a good fit for me. And I was glad that I saw this one shortly thereafter, because this feels like a better fit for how I read and like the kind of photographic images I do like to look at. Which prompted me to bring out this guy again, which this is my only Marseille deck, which is a great Marseille study deck. But clearly is not traditional at all whatsoever in terms of the artwork. But this little tiny guidebook is so rich and has such good information about reading with pips. And the deck is freaking precious, and it is such a good reader, which is, again, why I'm excited to start working with Marseille again. Because I'm still getting good readings from RWS, only RWS decks. But I just I've been feeling the need to like shake it up a little bit. So this has been great. These are all cards I just had the other day. So I'm trying to do a daily draw with this guy, because I do feel like the imagery and the archetypes come through on a day-to-day basis so well. Yeah, so I'm like pulling these in the morning. I'm taking pictures of the cards I get, and I'm kind of like revisiting it at the end of the day to see ways that my pull showed up throughout the day. And there's just something more like mundane about Marseille readings. I don't know if that's my personal experience. I feel like I've heard people say that, but I don't know if that's like the way it's supposed to go or pretty typical. I think that feels right. But so yeah, I've been really excited to pull this out again and start using it, and again like use that as a basis to help with getting to know the Tenebrae tarot more. I also, the other Marseille study, there's the CBD Marseille, which is on my list, but there's one that I want to get first, and that's the last. It's coming. That's like the last of these. My like tarot for the year is the Dame Fortune Wheel Tarot. I have the name wrong, I think. But it's lovely and very, very much based. I think it synthesizes Marseille and Atea together, systems together. And what I am so excited about, it has illustrated pips, which I don't mind pips, but I feel like I need to study them a lot more before I feel like a fluent reader with them. So anyway, Marseille study was on my agenda at the beginning of the year, which quickly fell apart due to busyness and 9,000 other things. So hopefully I can get back to it a bit this winter now that the garden work is wrapped up. This is the Somnia Tarot by Nicholas Bruno. This is, again, going back to that photographic thing that I'm having lately. I really love the illustrated version of this. It's really beautiful, and I think feels less overwhelming to some people who might be freaked out by these like hooded you know, covered figures. I find this imagery, it's haunting, but I find it so beautiful, and I'm okay with it. This is like a weird, super weird story, but there's a bunch of women in here. The Empress is one. That instead of like the sheet or covering over their face like this, they have their hair as like a veil over their face, which is very like ring imagery. I wonder if that's like a big part of what scares most people about this deck, or is just too intense for people. And that was like, my husband and I both talk about this all the time. Like, I was never afraid of scary movies until I watched The Ring, and now I have a hard time watching scary movies anymore. They really get into my head. And I think that was something about becoming a mother, where like I don't have the same tolerance I used to of visual things. But anyway, that movie haunted me forever. The women just have their back to you. This one's kind of like it. Her hair is in front of her face. I love the strength card. I think that's such a beautiful interpretation instead of like the animal being present. Anyway, I worked with, when I was doing meditation, some early visualization stuff. That like ring character would come to like scare me a lot when I was doing kind of like dream meditations or kind of journeying meditations. And so a long time ago, I made peace with that, with this kind of scene. I just got a very clear message from that hair over the face character that like the ability of like our brains to create fear where there's no need for fear. So that image has always been associated with that reminder for me, so it doesn't freak me out when I see it anymore. Anyway, that was a long, crazy story. I love this star card too. It's so beautiful. So this is like very much an artwork deck for me. Like I love this artwork. I wanted to collect his artwork. I find it incredibly beautiful and just like mind blown that these are photographs. But I really love the interpretations, and this like he just has a deck, I think. Yeah, it just has keywords. It's not any sort of write-up. But I mean, this deck speaks to me so much. Like every image, I get so much information from this deck. And I'm really glad to have it. I've been like holding myself off for a very long time. There were a lot of decks kind of competing with this one. Pagan Otherworlds was one, which I don't have. And what was the other one? Oh, I'm gonna forget what it was. I love this tower card too. Anyway, this one went out. Yeah, just because I feel like I'm having this photography moment, and yeah, I just feel like so much information comes through here. There was something else I wanted to say about this deck, and I'm forgetting, but anyway, beautiful artistry. I'm very thankful to have it. Oh, there's the Empress with the like ring hair. So yeah, this deck is lovely, and I am so excited to work with it. It's just a great, yeah, the fall, winter time deck also. And is almost, let's see. I already mentioned another video. I have the Mountain Rose. Wow, it's gonna be, it never fails. Like, I just start making a video and I can't remember the name of anything. If I didn't have the camera on, I'd remember the name of all these things. Mountain Dreamer Tarot. That one to me isn't like so spooky season. Like, I'll definitely use it this winter, but it has a lighter, I don't know if it's just like there's some things that make me laugh in it. But yeah, it just has this like earthy kind of spring or summer vibe to me for some reason. So that was another photography deck that I got this year. The first, as far as I know, photography deck. I got this one. I saw this on Crochet Witch Tarot's decks or videos, one of them. And this is actually, this is a mass market little oracle deck that I, again, nowhere on my radar at all whatsoever. But I found the images so lovely. And it's like I want to say it's like $12. This is the creator of it. This is the only one that maybe is a little strange, but so far I've used this a few times and I really like the energy of this deck. So at first I was like, who puts themselves in their oracle deck, like a drawing of themselves? But his energy that kind of runs through this deck feels really lovely. So even though I was kind of weirded out when I first saw that, I haven't taken it out because yeah, this is a very sweet, gentle deck. It has, you know, dark notes in it, but like shadow work type notes, not anything scary or intense. So again, this is just, it has that like really lovely edging on the side, that soft kind of goldy stuff that doesn't seem to wear off as easily and doesn't hurt as much to shuffle. But yeah, these feel like Polaroids to me almost, which I still have my Polaroid camera, and I still have some of the old school Polaroid film. Like the film's probably disintegrated. Like I probably can't even use it. It's probably 15 years old because I was told at some point they were going to stop making the film, which didn't end up being true, but I just like kept everything I had. Refused to use it. So, I mean, not all of them feel like Polaroids, but a lot of them do, like this one. And I really love that photographic feel. So yeah, this is just like a sweet one that has some really cool photography in it and a good mix of like really, that's why I like it so much. Not only the photography and the like Polaroid feel in some of them, but really interesting keywords that aren't just the same old things. And works really well with a lot of decks. And then there's a few random ones like this one. But again, it's like this quirky, kind of funny deck vibe that I really like. The Threshold. Yeah, it's got really good keywords. And super affordable and works well with, like I said, a lot of things, but especially this photographic deck thing that I'm going through and don't quite understand yet. So that is the Gentle Chaos Pocket Oracle deck by Tyler Gaka, aka Ghost Honey. This one is really surprising that I got it. Turning Terrestrial Tides Tarot. I have not seen this on anyone's channel. I did find I don't even think I looked at it. I looked at a flip through of the other one I got from this creator. I got these on Etsy, but this is another, it's kind of, so cool, great green edging. I love that. Comes that way. This one, I don't know. I can't explain why it felt so, no, I can. I had, what are those Anarchy books? Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go get it because I can't even remember. Hold on. Okay, this is like old school. I do not know if I condone or endorse this at all. But this is like very much this kind of anarchic revolution type book that I had in my early 20s living in Portland. There's a lot of like my early thoughts about like what kind of human I wanted to be came from that time in my life and from people that I was hanging out with that were very much challenging the traditional background I came from and really like making me think so differently about what I thought I knew. And there's something about this deck that like brought that back to life, because I'm very much, I already mentioned the like Pluto thing in my chart right now, but I also have Uranus in my first house right now, which is just, you know, shaking a lot of shit up in my life, and has me just re-evaluating like, okay, I'm a parent now. I'm like, I hit my 40th birthday this year. Like, who am I? Who did I think I wanted to be? And like, where have I settled? Where have I given up? Where do I want to where do I want to stir the pot? I guess in a way that's still where I still take care of my family, but set aside some of my fear and some of my comfort and some of my like stagnation maybe, and just challenge myself again. So this deck, it just has that, it has this like mix of artwork and collage and like typed messages, and I don't know, it just has a very cool aesthetic that I really like. And then I just loved the prompts and the information. Again, just like so much information for me comes through these cards, even though they're small. I also, I didn't mention that, but I'm also just having like this small card moment too with the like Halloween tens and the this tarot deck. Like I don't have many tarot decks outside of the tens that are this small, and that oracle that I just showed. And so yeah, I loved the size of it. Again, going back to that like playing card kind of where I started. But yeah, I just love, again, it has a guidebook that actually is really good, but I love getting like prompts and ideas in words on the cards, but there's still tons of imagery in this deck too. So it just feels really different, like a different tarot deck that's still very RWS, but has a really different vibe and a lot of information that I wouldn't get from seeing it anywhere else. So it's really cool. And it's a very Uranus deck, I would say. Like it's very much like, yeah, let's get it together, people, and think about what we're doing to the world and to the earth and like how we want to live. It has that Uranus energy, which is like that kind of anarchic book that I showed. It has this inside the little box, which I think is genius. So it kind of tells you how it changes the suits in the court cards, which obviously it's like very intuitive. But if for some reason you were wanting to remind yourself, and it's just, I really like this deck. It reads well, it's just like a really good journal prompt type deck where you don't need to do a lot of reading or like pull out a guidebook to get it. I also think this is prompted by that 54321 tag that we were all doing, where I got some really cool tarot books to instigate more journaling, because yeah, I was just wanting to kind of like shake up my practice a little bit, and I wanted to get back to journaling, but I found myself just like asking the same questions, writing the same kind of stuff in my journal. And so yeah, I've got some books that I found through that tag on tarot that were helping me to ask different questions, do different like spreads, and also kind of journal in new ways about tarot, which I was really enjoying. So this deck kind of came out of that. Like I want to shake it up. I want to have another way to kind of prompt writing or questions that I don't have a deck that does this. So very cool deck. I really like it a lot. I got another deck from them that I'm having trouble finding for some reason. I was just using it last night. I don't know why I can't find it, but I'll make sure I find it before the video is done, because I want to show it to y'all. Which will also explain, besides Marseille, another thing that I am starting up studying this winter, or like I started at the beginning of the year, abandoned, and then I'm coming back to this winter because I just, kids home over the summer and the garden going, I just couldn't make it happen. So this is Earthbound Oracle. This is another one, this was just like my big long list of all the things I wanted to work with, and just kind of like really distilling like the top things and like gaps that I feel like I needed to fit. And I just love this artwork. I love all of their artwork, but this one, yeah, it just feels like a calm, peaceful, beautiful oracle deck to add to readings. It's got that teeny tiny size, which I'm loving right now. I just want to say it's card. Let's see. Yeah, it's poker size. But a super happy surprise. Like I knew this deck would be great, and I knew it would go with a ton of different decks, and I was really excited about it. But like the happiest surprise ever that came from getting this deck was that I realized one of my favorite decks for this time of year is the Marielle. It's kind of one of my most treasured deeper decks. And this Oracle goes beautifully with Marielle. The only thing that sometimes trips me up with Marielle is I do like to use Oracle with it every once in a while, and I was having a hard time finding an Oracle that fit well because it's just such a unique art style, and because the art is has such a profound effect on me. If like the Oracle wasn't working well visually with it, it was really distracting. That doesn't always, like, I can get past. I used to not like pair based on aesthetics. But that's one where it still feels kind of important to me. And holy smokes, not only do they look beautiful together, I'm just going to grab this. Sorry, I had this big spread I did with them the other day. But not only do they look beautifully together, but they speak to each other in such a big way. So I literally, like, the start of this question was, I was feeling like this mystery, like a need to work on this part of myself that felt mysterious and kind of unknown and intense. And like I was a little afraid of letting that part of myself out of the closet. And this card came up, which like is freaking all the mysteries like wrapped into one card, right? And then the Earthbound card that came to go with it was Arcana, which was just like, couldn't have been speaking more directly to this kind of mysterious question that I was asking. And so there's a whole other spread on my altar. It was just such a profound reading, and every single card was like that. It looked beautiful together and just lent such depth to it. And I was a little afraid with this deck because there's no guidebook. I was like, man, is it, am I still gonna like get all the information I need out of it? And it was like that was the first reading I did with it, and it was like every fear instantly got blown out. It was just so clearly 110% yes. This is the other deck from, okay, so it's the 8th House LLC is the creator. Sarah Calvary's Allen. 8th House is, I think, the Etsy shop name. So this is the one, the same creator as this guy. So I got this one because I already mentioned I'm studying astrology, and I wanted to get back into my Decan walk. So I have the Hermetic Tarot, I have the Tabula Mundi, but I just really wanted something that, even the Hermetic Tarot, none of them have the, let's see, no, I'm totally lying. Okay, so Tabula Mundi, sorry, I have it right here for my Decan walk, because I started my Decan walk again. I mentioned in another video how I started the Decan walk with Aries season this year, and I can't remember how far I got, but I fell apart somewhere in there. And rather than just giving up for the whole year, I'm getting back into it, and hopefully we'll be able to fill some of the gap next year. So the Tabula Mundi has, yeah, and so does the Hermetic Tarot. I'm a total liar. So it has the Mars and Scorpio. So I lied about that. But anyway, these cards, I just kind of wanted, I guess, a more simplified. Those decks are so filled with like the Hermetic information and so much symbolism and so much going on in the images. I wanted like a simple energy picture, and I just really like the artwork in this deck. So it's still the full deck, but it has all the astrological associations on the deck. So this is kind of like my astrology deck. The only other astrology, I have 2 astrology decks. I have the Astro Oracle, which I do love now that I've studied astrology for a while. Like, I still stand behind that one. And then I have the Oracle of Radiant Sun by Carolyn Smith and John Astra. I feel like I got her name wrong. Sorry, I'm looking for my box. Man, I just can't find anything that I'm talking about today, but that's okay. I'm going to show her deck here in a second. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted a deck that I could do. I just wanted like the planetary energies on their own, which obviously the signs and the planets are all singularly represented by the major arcana. But I also wanted all of the combos in there. So like Six of Swords, Mercury, and Aquarius. Because this is also helping me to study astrology. So astrology, as if you even know a little bit about it, there's just like infinite archetype combinations that can come together and show up in multitude of ways depending on like where, you know, what planet and what sign and in what house, and is it squaring, is it trining, you know, there's just so many different ways to interpret all the archetypes of the planets and the signs. So this deck, yeah, is just helping me study a lot of those archetypes coming together, and in a way like I can read, and a lot of this studying that I'm doing is reading, you know, ancient astrology texts and working with clients and seeing my teacher work with clients. So there's a lot of different ways that I'm learning, but there's just a unique visual element that I needed, almost like flashcards. But if I just made flashcards, like they would not be interesting to me. And so that's maybe some of my ADHD or other neurodivergent kind of stuff coming through. But these stick with me so much deeper using these versus just like reading a list of traits of Mercury and Virgo. I really like this deck. I like the artwork. I like the simplicity. You know, some of these cards have more going on, but even though it's a relatively simple image for the most part, I still get so much information from it. And yeah, these kind of combos really stick with me for a long time after I work with them. So this is a pseudo flashcard deck for me. I'm using it in combination with my Decan walk too, because same thing, you know, I can look at this and be like, okay, 5 of Cups, Lord of Loss and Pleasure, you know, so I can get like a gist of things, and I can read, you know, I can study this Decan, but visually, like, it's just a ton of information. And I do want to know every single, you know, symbol and like what everything means in this card. Same with the Tabula Mundi. Sorry, I know I'm blocking. Like a ton of information, but there's just so much symbol. This one's relatively simple, but a lot of her cards aren't as simple. Like just death. So I have Scorpio out because we just got into the Scorpio season. Just so much symbolism and so much information, and I'm excited to dissect it all and get to know it all. But I also just wanted like the simple, and I did. Oh, here it is. Like, what is Mars and Scorpio, you know? And so this is like a very direct RWS correlation, but this I can just read a lot easier with my intuition and not get overwhelmed by all the other esoteric knowledge and the other cards, which is still important information and still stuff I wanted to use, but I just wanted like an easier access point for the deck and walk too. So anyway, that's my long explanation of why I got this deck and why I like it, and its many uses. It's also edged in this dark green. They have a few other decks. I can't remember much about what else I looked at on there, but anyway, really different, interesting decks from this creator that I haven't seen a whole lot of other places. 8th house too is, you know, I think it's the one, I study Hellenistic astrology, so they don't associate signs to houses, but I think in modern astrology 8th house is Scorpio associated. I could be wrong about that because again, that's not what I'm studying, but it makes sense to me, just like archetypally. Makes sense to me that those would go together. Okay, spooky season. This is another spooky season deck that I've been using and I really have been enjoying. This is Shadowlands Tarot by Monica Bodersky, I think is her last name. Such a great tarot. I really like the artwork. This is kind of similar to the Halloween Tarot, and unfortunately, I thought I was just going to use Halloween Tarot all the time, but so far I've liked how this one reads a little bit more than Halloween Tarot. Some people said they hate the backs. I love these backs. I don't know. The yellow, I mean, maybe it's like loud, but like, I feel like that's part of what Halloween is. Yeah, this one reads better for me than Halloween Tarot. It might just be that Halloween Tarot is newer. But this has a really chunky guidebook to it, which is lovely. I love it. And it has a ton of shadow work questions in there, which I really enjoy. See, it's like so big. I'm not going to, zooming out on my camera isn't so easy. But yeah, I like these really nice reflections on each card. I think there's more listed for the major arcana. And these, I mentioned in another video too, I use Holly Audley's little mini divvies with some of these like spooky season decks, or these decks that are hard to pair with something else. So these were actually the pulls I had from this deck that are on my desk here. But yeah, this deck has just been a fun spooky season thing. Again, same thing. It's like shadow work and challenging ideas, you know, harder stuff to work with, but done in this whimsical kind of illustrative artwork style that's very endearing at the same time and kind of makes you smile or makes you giggle. Side note, Over the Garden Wall, if you haven't watched it as part of your spooky season TV, highly recommend. I knew I would love it. I can't remember if the creators of it are Adventure Time related. I feel like I'm getting that wrong, but such a lovely series if you have access to it to watch. And my kids have loved it too. It took them a second to buy into it, but it's so heartwarming and sweet and perfect fall vibes, I think. So that is Shadowlands Tarot. It had a big old box, so I made a little. This feels like this is like my Dr. Seuss fabric. I made a little bag for it. And I think the last deck I was going to show is this one. So this is another practice I finally got back to. So I'm drawing one Mystery of the Black Madonna card a week. I'm weekly, is that right? Weekly updating. Yeah, I guess a little over a week that you have a Decan card up. No, it's every 10 days roughly. Okay, sorry. So yeah, a Decan roughly every week. What are my other weekly draws? I can't remember them all, but this is turned into a practice. So this is the Moon Oracle by Carolyn Smith and John Astrop. So they did the Elemental Tarot, and they also did Oracle of the Radiant Sun. They might have another one. But this one is something I try to incorporate in my daily practice. I use it to track the daily motion of the moon. I found it incredibly helpful astrologically, but also as my personal kind of awareness practice to track the moon pretty carefully. And if you know a little bit about astrology, of all the heavenly bodies, it is the body that moves the fastest. So it moves about 15 degrees a day through the zodiac. So it changes signs almost every day, every 2 days for sure, changes the sign that it's in. So this deck, there's probably a lot of different ways to use it. I'm not even sure, to be honest. I've read the guidebook a lot, but I didn't read the intro material. So I'm not sure if Carolyn Smith recommends a certain way to use this deck. But I use it for my astrological practice and a way to tap into moon energy every day. So I have an app that has daily planetary positions. I also have software that I use to run natal charts and horary charts, which I was pulling up just now to kind of check in on where the moon is. So what else would I say about this? So not only do I use this to pull up and put on my altar daily moon cards, I also am working on tracking the everyday motion of all the planets through the zodiac to kind of help in my astrological learning, and of course eventually like doing readings for people. And it just comes in handy if I'm like talking to someone who is interested in astrology, and or tarot, to the extent that I connect it to Decan work. And I can just be like, oh, you know, what's your rising sign, and kind of know what planets are going on in what parts of their chart. So currently I need to change out my moon card. So I was going to do this with you since this part was deleted inexplicably the other day. So this deck has three kind of cards. So one section of the cards are goddess cards, and this is originally why I bought the deck. I had no idea kind of what the rest of it was about, but I really liked the artwork on these goddess cards, and goddess work is a pretty big part of my practice. So each of the goddesses is associated with a moon glyph, but it's also associated with one of the zodiac signs. So the moon is in Aries today, so finding, I'm sure it's going to be like, I'm guessing Artemis, but I'm not sure. Let's see. So, you know, you do kind of have to know your glyphs. Yeah, it is Artemis. You do have to know your glyphs, but her book is really helpful to look up all the stuff if you don't know it. So what I'll do, I'll pull out the goddess card, and this is probably the part of the book that I read the most. I like the way that she writes about the goddesses. And then the second part of the deck are these, what does she call them? Mansion cards. So they have astrological symbolism on them, but what I use them for is I look up what degree the moon is at, and I pull that mansion card for the daily information. And so right now the moon is 5 degrees of Aries, which helpfully enough is this very first card, which is the volcano. And these mansion cards also, the artwork is beautiful. I find the artwork and the mansion description in the book has a really good archetypal combo of the two planetary glyphs, but also the degree in which, you know, so probably actually, now that I'm saying this probably has to do with the Decan that these degrees are in of the sign. I'm not 100% sure about that. I would have to look at my Decan chart. Let's do it. Why the heck not? So this is a tool that I have for my astrological studies. It's part of my school that I'm in, which is a YouTube creator. Elenbaas has the Nightlight Astrology. He's my teacher, and he's an incredible teacher. I highly recommend. So I'm just going to look up Gemini. So this is part of my, like, when I read people's charts, but also just kind of a study tool, but it also really helps in the Decan walk too. So if we're looking at Gemini, the 4 degrees, 17 minutes. So yeah, the first Decan is the sun, and the bounds are Saturn and Mars. So yeah, it's not related to the Decan or the bound. And then the third thing I do is it has this third section, which is the phases of the moon, and broken out by element. So these are the air cards, earth cards, water cards, and fire cards. So Aries is a fire element, a fire sign, and oh god, the only thing I didn't look up was the phase, which I can kind of tell, but it's almost full. I know the solar eclipse is on Saturday, so we are in the not quite, yeah, we're more on the gibbous waxing fire moon than the full moon. We're getting close to being able to call it a full moon. So that's how I pull my daily cards. There's also like all sorts of moon apps and moon websites where it'll tell you exactly if it's gibbous or waning or, you know, whatever the case might be. So there's all sorts of little cheats to this. If you don't know a ton about astrology, there are websites you can go to that'll literally say, you know, the fire sign Aries is in, or the moon is in the fire sign Aries at, you know, 5 degrees Aries, blah, blah, blah. So you can find all this information easily online. And so I love this because it kind of helps me tune into the moon. It helps me track not only the planets, but the moon every day and where it is in the zodiac. And I just love studying not only the goddess and kind of pulling her into where the moon is at, but also just the archetypes of all these things together. So the sun and Mars, which is interesting. The sun and Mars are close in degree together right now. In Scorpio, which is also a fire sign. But the Mars is often close to the sun in the zodiac. So anyway, just this Mars has this very fiery, very martial, very intense energy, which makes sense with Artemis. And yeah, when it's a waxing fire moon, there's a lot of individuality kind of energy, and it's even, really wild and more interesting coming up against an eclipse soon. So volcano is just, a very apt kind of description, and putting it together with Artemis and the waxing fire moon. Not every day do I have time to read all three of these things, but when I do have time, I will read it. And it's just like for me, it's a wonderful daily practice. Something that I started at the beginning of this year, got away from, and I'm getting back to as I finish up my astrology studies. So here, this talks about the mansions. Coming from the Magus or Celestial Intelligencer Francis Barrett in 1801. I know exactly where it's coming from, and it's not Vedic. Okay, so from 0 to 12.51. So that's the first decan of Aries plus a little 2.2 degrees and 51 minutes into the second decan of Aries. So the first decan of Aries is ruled by Mars, and the second decan is ruled by the sun. So that's where these freaking things are coming from. So that makes sense, and it makes sense that those two energies are kind of playing into the mansions, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it under the Vedic system. Anyway, all of that to say, it has this lovely key phrase at the bottom: conserve and build up resources. So that is how I use this guy in my daily reading. She also has she has these moon tables in the back, which also will give you exactly what you need to look up the moon on any given day. Let's see, I'm just going to look up Artemis. So same Artemis, wonderful write-up, key phrase, play it cool if possible, which is perfect for like the sun in Aries, like watch the ego, holy smokes. So I'll put these on my altar. That's part of my daily practice that I'm getting back to, in addition to the decans, as I was talking about. So anyway, that is just like a combo of, again, like recent deck purchases, which are like these guys. Let's see, this guy, this guy, I think, Barbara Walker, where are you? Barbara Walker. So those are recent deck purchases. And then, yeah, just like my bringing back out meant to study, meant to work with, haven't, and then / my spooky season helper. Okay, just some things I wanted to share. Oops, this is part of my new purchase thing too. So thank you for watching. I would love comments, subscribe if you feel so inclined. Yeah, and thank you. Hopefully I was able to share something that resonated, or maybe gave you an idea for something, or provided insight on maybe a creative way to use a deck in a different way. Take care, and hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye.